Good morning, amazing students. Welcome to part 2 of figurative language. So last time you had a yellow and blue sheet. This time you are using a purple and green sheet. And you can see that the definitions are there for you. And all you will have to do is fill out the word. These 4 stars, these red stars, we already have. But if you don't have them written down, I will go over them again. And just some of these might be repeats. So as we go through the terms, please make sure that you have the correct terms with the correct definitions. All right, here we go. So figurative language 2, also known as literary devices or literary techniques. For our purposes, they all mean the same thing. So we can interchange figurative language, literary devices, and literary techniques. Again, what you're saying on the surface is the literal meaning, right? If somebody is actually on fire and they need to stop, drop, and roll, they are literally on fire. But if you say, oh my gosh, you're doing so good, you're on fire today, meaning that's the figurative meaning, you know, they're doing a great job, they just keep getting all the right answers. All right, so figurative language helps us dive into the deep waters of literature. We're going to skip this slide. So simile, this should be a repeat. It's saying one thing is like another, using like or as to compare two things. So some examples are happy as a clown, like peas in a pod, cute as a puppy, sly as a fox, or works like a charm. Our next one is metaphor. This should also be a repeat. So a metaphor is saying one thing is another thing, though it really isn't. So you're comparing two things, saying one thing is another. So for example, my cat is a lazy lump of coal. Or you can use it in a verb form. My foster dad erupted when he got my report card with the 3 Fs. So people don't literally erupt. Volcanoes literally erupt, but you can erupt in anger if you're using a metaphor. Some other examples, he's a lobster, meaning like he is red, like burnt from like the sun. Her heart was gold, and sadness is a black hole. All right, alliteration is our next word. So alliteration is the repetition of the sound of the first letter. So you're going to see this a lot with tongue twisters, but it doesn't have to be the same letter. So for example, if a F and a PH make the same sound, as in fish and, I don't know, the band Fish, P-H-I-S, that is still alliteration. So here are some examples. We wander through the wild woods in search of wonder, that W sound. Sarah saw a silly seal on Saturday, that S sound. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. And Kim came to help us cut out a colorful kite for Chris. So here's what I mean, right? This K and this C can also have a S sound, right? So in this case, it's a hard K sound for the C. So Kim came, color kite, Chris cut, right? They all have the K, but they're not the same letter. So that's what I mean by they have to have the same sound. Our next one is hyperbole. So it's an exaggeration used to make a point to create a certain effect. So for example, it can be ridiculous or funny, but it's usually not like mean. That would be more closely related to sarcasm. So some examples are, our teacher gave us 2 years of homework tonight. Your car is so old, it has hieroglyphics on the dashboard. My ELA teacher is so old, she remembers the dinosaurs. Or I have told you 1,000,000 times to clean your room. Right? I'm not literally as old as the dinosaurs because I wouldn't be alive. But like you're telling me I'm really, really old, that's a hyperbole. All right. Onomatopoeia, don't mind the bell, sorry. Onomatopoeia, this is one you should know. It's a word that mimics a sound or resembles their meaning. So here are some examples. Bang, buzz, splash, smash, and poof. Right? Those are all examples of onomatopoeia. Personification, we did talk about this one a little bit earlier, but it wasn't on your list. So personification is when you talk about a thing, idea, or animal as if it had human characteristics. So for example, my phone isn't cooperating. The phone doesn't know enough to cooperate. That's user error, but we say it's not cooperating. That's personification. The wind waves goodbye. Right? The wind doesn't actually wave, but maybe you're saying like the wind is blowing us back to our house. Opportunity knocks. So those are examples of personification. A lot of the times you'll see personification with weather or animals. Our next one is an idiom. So an idiom can sometimes also be a metaphor or a simile. A lot of the times those two coincide. Like I know that by the back of my hand. That's an idiom, but it's also a simile because it's using like or as. So it's a phrase where the meaning is not literal, instead it has a figurative meaning. So it's one of those things where like if you don't speak the language naturally, like if it's a second language and you don't live and immerse yourself in the language, there's a lot of these in different languages that you might not understand. It might not make any sense, but it's just like one of those sayings. So some examples are to let the cat out of the bag. Don't let the cat out of the bag. Don't tell the secret. To go out on a limb. Don't go on a limb for that person, right? Don't put your neck on the line. That's also an idiom. It's raining cats and dogs is another idiom. And to have butterflies in your stomach when you're nervous. All right, oxymoron. We did do oxymoron and paradox, so we're going to go over these ones pretty quickly. An oxymoron is a phrase that's made up of two or more words that actually have opposite meanings. So we have jumbo shrimp, deafening silence, living dead, old news, Dodge Ram, and clearly confused. All right, so it's a phrase. And paradox is a statement that appears at first to be contradictory, but upon reflection, then makes sense. So Syndrome says, if everyone is special, no one is. And George Bernard Shaw said, youth is wasted on the young. So a paradox is a statement that makes sense, but you have to think about it, basically. And if you remember this, I'll go over this quickly, but you should have this in your notes, right? So a paradox is a situation or a statement that can be created using an oxymoron. It makes you think, it stretches your brain, and an oxymoron is a phrase. It can be used in a paradox, and it creates a dramatic effect. All right, analogy. When you describe the relationships between the parts of a simile or a symbol. So it uses information to teach potentially unfamiliar ideas. So for example, if you're looking at a peach like the Earth's crust, the skin, or like the Earth, right? So you have the skin is like our crust, the inner peach is like our mantle, the outer core would probably be like this red part, and then, sorry, I'm pointing with my finger, but you can't see it. This red part would be the inner core, or sorry, the outer core, and then the inner core right here would be the pit, right? So you can kind of make an analogy. It's like if you said the Earth is like a peach, right? That would be a simile. But then when you go on to explain or describe how the simile works, that is an analogy. So it's like an extended simile or metaphor. All right, so creativity is like fire. That is a simile. But then if I explain, creativity is like a new idea, which is like a spark. And then when you gather ideas, it's like gathering the kindling to start your fire. And then finding inspiration is, that lighting the fire. And then creative expression is roaring flames once your flames gets going. All right, so I turned that simile into a metaphor, or sorry, an analogy by explaining the simile. All right, next we have assonance. The repetition of the sound of a vowel anywhere in the word. All right, so assonance can be anywhere in the word. It can be at the beginning or in the middle. So try to light the fire. The I is the assonance. It's a vowel sound. The cat had a snack. Right? That's the sound of a vowel. And the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. Those are all vowel sounds. None of them are in the beginning. They're all kind of in the middle. And then we have consonants. Consonants is the repetition of a consonant sound anywhere in the word. So non-vowels, obviously. Right? So here are some examples. On my plate, put a little bit of Jell-O for me to taste. That is consonants, because the t. Sally was dissatisfied with the unreasonable requests she kept receiving from Sam, especially the one from minced sardine sandwiches, which she thought to be an exceptional waste of time. See how it's, again, like kind of like alliteration. The CEI, CE, XC, those make the S sound like the S's, but they're not S's. That is also appropriate. All right, and some are at the beginning, and some are in the middle and at the end. So anywhere in the word is consonant. Consonants. And here's just a quick, this is the difference, right? So assonance is vowel sounds anywhere within the word. Consonance is consonant sound anywhere in the word. And alliteration is any sound at the beginning of a word. So it could be a consonant or a vowel sound. Okay? And I think, oh, we have symbol. So a symbol is a physical object, animal, or weather condition that stands in for an idea. So for example, heart equals love, four-leaf clover equals luck. But it can also have like long layers of meaning. So for example, in Quidditch, which is the sport, a magical sport that they play in Harry Potter with a lot of team members, it symbolizes the deeper virtues taught at Hogwarts, like the team spirit philosophy of Hogwarts. So a person should use magic with an awareness of others' needs and values, just as winning at Quidditch depends on the successful interaction of several players acting cooperatively. That can really be said of any team sport. If it was a book all about team sports, it's likely that that sport would be a symbol for the larger meaning within the novel. So that could be basketball or soccer, right? A person should work with others and be aware of others' needs and values, just as winning in soccer depends on the successful interactions of several players acting cooperatively. Okay? And theme, I think this is our last one actually. So theme is a lesson or moral that's timeless or universal. So that means that it's a lesson or moral that can be applied to many people, many cultures over many time periods. It's usually implied and not stated directly. So usually the author won't say the moral of this lesson is. Where they do that is sometimes in fables. They'll tell you the moral at the end, but that's slightly different than theme. So an example might be failure is good because that is how we learn, if it's a book about somebody who just keeps messing up all the time. Or family is more important than just those who have the same blood as you. You can find family wherever there are good people who care about you. Any novel that has found family as a trope or something, that would be a good one for that. And that is the end. So make sure you have your correct definitions with your correct terms. And good job. I'll see you all later.